It's the middle of the night, 25,000 years ago. A woman is lying awake in complete darkness, listening. Not for danger, for breathing. 6 other people are asleep beside her, close enough that she can feel the warmth coming from their bodies. Close enough that if she reached out her hand right now, she'd touch someone without even looking. This isn't a special night. This is every night. It's how she's fallen asleep her entire life. It's how her mother slept, and her mother's mother. Now imagine she wakes up, and the breathing is gone. No warmth, no voices, no one within reach. For you, waking up alone might sound peaceful. For her, it meant something so terrifying that her brain treated it almost the same way yours treats standing at the edge of a cliff. And here's the part that's hard to believe. Even though you live in a world of locked doors, electric lights, and millions of people, a part of your brain still reacts to being alone as if it's trapped in that ancient night. Because long before language, before cities, before history itself, our ancestors discovered something that became one of the most important survival tools our species ever evolved. And your brain is still running that program today. So what was actually happening inside her body, in that terrifying moment of silence? Because it wasn't just fear, it was biology taking control. When early humans found themselves alone at night, unprotected, unheard, with no one close enough to hear them call for help, their bodies reacted as if death might already be on its way. Heart rate rising, breathing becoming shallow, every sound suddenly seeming louder than it really was. Stress hormones flooding the bloodstream. Not because something had attacked, but because something could. And for hundreds of thousands of years, that tiny difference was enough to decide who survived. Being alone didn't guarantee you would die. It simply made your chances dramatically worse. No group meant fewer eyes watching the darkness. No group meant nobody to wake you if danger crept into camp. No group meant that if you were injured, nobody might even know until sunrise. And evolution remembers probabilities, not exceptions. The brains that treated isolation like an emergency were the brains that survived long enough to become your ancestors, which means something extraordinary happened. Instead of simply teaching humans to fear predators, evolution taught humans to fear being separated from each other. That fear became part of the nervous system itself, passed down, generation after generation, long after the original danger began disappearing. But here's the fascinating part. How do we know any of this? After all, none of those people left us diaries. They left us something even better. People who still live remarkably close to the way our ancestors once did. Anthropologists studying hunter-gatherer societies, groups like the Hadza of Tanzania and the Ju Hoansi of the Kalahari, keep finding the same pattern. People almost never sleep completely alone. Families cluster together. Children sleep surrounded by adults. Bodies stay close enough to feel each other's warmth. Close enough to hear every breath. At first, that sounds comforting, but comfort wasn't the original purpose. It was survival. A sleeping group has more ears listening, more people who might wake at the smallest unusual sound, more bodies standing between any one person and whatever was moving beyond the firelight. Some researchers even believe the earliest night watches weren't planned at all. No leader assigning shifts, no schedule, just a group whose sleep naturally overlapped, so someone was almost always a little closer to waking than everyone else. A silent security system, thousands of years before anyone invented locks. And here's where ancient history suddenly becomes your history, because scientists discovered something nobody expected. Loneliness doesn't just change how you feel, it changes how your body behaves. People living with chronic isolation don't simply report feeling sad. Their cortisol stays higher, their immune systems become weaker. Long-term studies have found that prolonged loneliness carries health risks comparable to smoking heavily, and in some cases, comparable to obesity itself. Think about how strange that is. Your brain knows you're sitting safely inside a modern house. Your body isn't completely convinced. A locked door can protect you. An alarm system can protect you. But neither one can instantly erase 300,000 years of evolution. Maybe that's why so many people sleep better with another person nearby. Or a dog curled up at the foot of the bed. Or even a television quietly talking in the background. Not because those things make the room safer, but because they make it feel less empty. Some ancient part of your nervous system still expects breathing, still expects warmth, still expects the quiet reassurance that someone else is close enough to wake you if something goes wrong. You were never designed to be completely alone. Almost nothing about your body suggests that you were. Your stress response, your sleep, even your sense of safety, was built for a world where surviving the night depended on staying close to other people. Which means that strange feeling, the one that sometimes appears when you're alone in a silent house, isn't your imagination. It isn't weakness. It's a message from a brain that still remembers a world your conscious mind has never seen. But if your brain is still carrying that ancient program, there's one question we haven't answered. Why does being alone sometimes feel dangerous, even when you know you're perfectly safe? The answer may be hiding in something you experience every single day. Your brain is constantly predicting what happens next. It listens for footsteps. It notices changes in someone's voice. It watches faces. It tracks where people are in a room. And most of the time, you don't even realize it's doing any of this. When you're surrounded by people, your brain has thousands of tiny signals telling it that the world is normal. Someone is talking. Someone is moving. Someone is breathing. Someone is awake. Your nervous system doesn't have to monitor everything by itself. But take all of that away, and something changes. The room becomes quiet. Your brain suddenly has less information about what is happening around you, and when the brain doesn't know what is happening, it starts imagining what could be happening. That's why a strange noise at 3 a.m. sounds completely different when you're alone. During the day, you hear a sound from the kitchen and think, probably nothing. At night, alone in the house, your brain starts writing the worst possible story. A pipe, a branch, an animal, someone at the door. Your brain isn't necessarily trying to scare you. It's trying to protect you, because evolution rewarded the people who investigated a possible danger and punished the people who confidently assumed there wasn't one. False alarm? You survive. Missed predator? You might not get another chance. So your nervous system learns something incredibly simple. When you're uncertain, assume there's a reason to pay attention. And this is where loneliness becomes much stranger than simply feeling sad. Because loneliness isn't just the absence of people. It's your brain noticing the absence of the people it expects. You can be surrounded by 1,000 strangers and still feel completely alone. And you can be sitting quietly beside one person you deeply trust and suddenly feel completely safe. The difference isn't the number of bodies in the room. It's whether your brain believes, I have someone. That may be one of the deepest reasons human beings seek connection. Not because we're weak, not because we're incapable of being independent, but because somewhere in our nervous system is an ancient calculation. If something happens, who is here? Who would hear me? Who would notice? Who would help? For most of human history, those questions weren't philosophical. They were survival questions. And that's why the modern world creates such a strange contradiction. We have never been more connected, and yet we've never had more ways to be physically alone. You can live behind a locked door, order food without speaking to anyone, work without seeing another person, talk to thousands of people through a screen, and still spend an entire day without another human being physically beside you. Our technology changed almost everything about the environment, but it didn't rewrite the nervous system that evolved inside that environment. So the next time you're alone at night, and the silence suddenly feels heavier than it should, remember the woman from the beginning, 25,000 years ago, lying awake in the darkness, listening to 6 people breathing beside her. She didn't have walls. She didn't have an alarm system. She didn't have a phone. But she had something her brain considered almost as important as all of those things. Someone else was there. And perhaps that's why, thousands of generations later, you can still feel the difference between an empty room and a room where someone you trust is breathing beside you. The world changed. The predators disappeared. The darkness became safer. But the ancient program never completely shut down, because maybe your brain was never really asking, am I alone? Maybe it was asking something much older. If something happens, will anyone be there? And that's why sometimes, all it takes to make the darkness feel a little less frightening is knowing you're not the only one awake.